Well, I saw the Dolphins took a late lead, C-Cat. I saw that Darren Waller, who's been the savior for this franchise through 3 weeks, he caught a big touchdown in the right corner of the end zone. The Dolphins went up.
6 yards of separation.
He was wide. Like, the weird thing about his touchdowns, he either had the one in the back of the end zone where he leaped over 3 guys, dunked over the field goal post and scored, or he's just been wide ass open. No in between. So Darren Waller gets you one of those. There's 50 seconds left. You kick the ball off to the Chargers, and 2 seconds later, the Chargers won the football game. Not sure how that happened. Not quite sure how that happened, especially as somebody that was watching on Red Zone. I was like, oh, like, did I miss something? No. They showed me the one play. It was a Ladd McConkey, pass to the flats that he took 50 yards, and then the game was over. And now we're back in a scenario where the Dolphins looked slightly competitive. They looked fun. We had some bright spots, but in the end, they did not execute down the stretch, and they lost the football game. Well, at least everybody in that locker room is taking accountability, right?
I assume so.
Let's hear from their leader, the leader of this team, at least internally. Let's hear from Tua Tagovailoa after the game when questioned about the state of affairs around Miami Gardens.
Yeah, well, I think it starts with the leadership in helping articulate that for the guys, and then what we're expecting out of the guys, right? We're expecting this. Are we getting that? Are we not getting that? We have guys showing up to player-only meetings late, guys not showing up to player-only meetings. Like, there's a lot that goes into that. Do we have to make this mandatory? Do we not have to make this mandatory? So it's a lot of things of that nature that we got to get cleaned up.
Okay. So in that kind of like word soup there, he talked specifically about guys showing up to meetings late, leaders not leading correctly, or at least not being able to engage their followers or their constituents or whatever you want to put it as. They're soldiers. I know a lot of football guys like to talk like it's war. They're army. Leaders not being able to lead, players not showing up to meetings, guys not giving it their all. C-Cat, anywhere in there did he talk about the interceptions he was throwing last night?
Did not hear that word.
Okay. Well, maybe that has something to do with people showing up to the meetings late. Maybe the receivers were late on their routes because they showed up to. Well, let's one more time. Tua, what's going wrong with the Dolphins right now?
Yeah, well, I think it starts with the leadership in helping articulate that for the guys.
Okay, good. Okay, how many leaders are there on a football team? You obviously want to say the head coach is the leader, right? Mike McDaniel is going to be the first guy in charge of, correcting things when they're going wrong and coming up with, with good game plans and leading guys into execution. That's Mike McDaniel's job. Who will be second?
I would say Tua Tagovailoa.
Oh, well, why Tua though?
Captain of the team.
Okay, all right. Well, does he play an important position at least? Is it because I'm
most important position in sports?
Okay. So I'm gonna peel the curtain back a little bit here on what's going on with Tua, because everybody has their theories and everybody's talking down on the Dolphins, and Tua Tagovailoa is using these media sessions as therapy. He is using that microphone and the press as a way in which to air out grievances, as a way in which to get things off his chest that he's not able to properly communicate to people that are intimate in his life, because either he doesn't have the guts to say it or he said it time and time again and it's not going through. He's using the media as therapy. He is coping out loud. That's what Tua Tagovailoa is doing, who, by the way, has been one of the bigger issues for the Dolphins this year. Everybody's been an issue, but Tua himself and the turnovers clearly have been an issue. And coping's not as bad as people try to make it seem. I'm not saying this is a negative for Tua, right? Coping, if you look up the definition here, here it is. Coping is to deal effectively with something difficult. He's dealing effectively with something that is difficult. What's difficult, you ask? Well, C-Cat, if you have high expectations, if you have a franchise quarterback contract, if you are in a place in which people expect you to win, but you can't seem to get over that hump, you can't seem to make the plays in the right time, you can't seem to galvanize your bunch, would that be difficult?
It would be pretty darn hard.
It's hard to deal with the emotions that come with that as you are an athlete that is at the top of his game in the prime of his career with a lot of eyes on you. Tua is coping. And I don't blame him for coping, because everybody wants to be great at what they do. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, hey, I would love to throw 3 interceptions and lose the game for my football team today. I would love for that to be. He wants to win. He wants to be good. He wants to be a ceiling raiser. But I just think that the issue with Tua right now is he's one of those quarterbacks. There's a class of quarterbacks in the NFL right now who are good. And they're almost becoming victims of how good they are. It's almost like when a team that is young has success too early and then the expectations rise and they never get back to that hump. Tua is good. He's good enough to get paid $50 million a year. He's good enough to convince the Miami Dolphins to invest in him long term, to make him their franchise quarterback, but he's not great. He's not great enough to take them to the next level. He's not great enough to win in December. He's not great enough to beat playoff teams. He's not great enough to play in the cold and have an efficient football game. He's good and he's not great. And that gap between good and great is one of the hardest gaps to climb. And it can be so infuriating because when you're good, the next step people expect as you get older, you're going to become great. That's what they – when the Dolphins gave him that contract, C-Cat, did you think that they were like, hey, you led the league in passing? You know, you led a team to 70 points over the Broncos. Keep being good. We don't expect nothing else from you. Keep it up.
They poured the foundation. They watered the flower. You know, they were expecting progression and growth.
And they didn't get that. And that's fine. I'm not saying that's even an issue. I'm saying that nobody even expects at this point for Tua to become great. And I think that's the issue. That's why we've seen this level of coping from Tua this entire season. When he got in front of the microphone before playing the Bills and talked about how he's half the man that Josh Allen will ever be and called Josh Allen a mythical character who is a beast and could be never stopped by his own defense, that was coping. That was him coping out loud, using the media as therapy to get over things that he can't figure out himself. When he also threw multiple interceptions in that game against the Colts, week 1. And a reporter asked him, hey, Tua, why do your turnovers seem to come in bunches? I believe that reporter was Omar Kelly. Why do your turnovers come in bunches? And Tua immediately got defensive. Immediately. Jumped on his horse, got defensive, and said, that doesn't happen. And then there's stats to actually prove that actually, yes, when you turn the ball over, things start to unravel very quickly. He was being defensive. That is one of the first things you do when you're coping and when you're in therapy. I feel bad outside looking in on what's happening with Tua Tagovailoa because I'm watching a guy mentally be vulnerable at some points, but then seem to also unravel time after time after time. The game-losing interception against the Patriots, the game-losing interception against the Bills, the 3 turnovers in a one-possession game against the Chargers. How can you not look yourself in the mirror and say, I am the problem, I need to get better, and also say that behind the microphone? Well, it's because he's coping. And it's because everybody's already pointing the blame at him before he even gets a chance to get in front of that microphone. That's why you get answers like that out of Tua Tagovailoa, and that's why I don't believe that he is going to be the guy that leads the Dolphins to break this 24-season playoff win drought. It's not going to happen. And Dolphins fans don't believe it, and Mike McDaniel doesn't believe it. And I think the one thing saving Mike McDaniel's job right now, C-Cat, is the fact that the front office doesn't believe Tua is that guy anymore.
Yeah, with Tua, it kind of, you talk about that leap from being good and great, and Tua is definitively good. I think an important qualifier that considers someone to be a great quarterback is covering up your team's blemishes. And Tua just is not great enough to do that. And that's what's being asked of him, and he simply has not been able to do that, and he might look like he can't do that.
So here are the quarterbacks that I think are definitively in that tier, and then there's some that are on the bubble. Remember Kirk Cousins?
I do. I forgot what it looked like. He's been off my TV screen for over a year now.
That's where Tua lies.
Under a year now.
That's where Tua, about under a year. He might actually pop back on your TV screen if you wait around long enough. Kyler Murray, a guy who Jacoby Brissett did things in a Cardinals uniform that he's never done in his career. Yesterday, excuse me. That Kyler Murray, good enough to get the contract, not great enough to make it worthwhile to the franchise. Tua is in that conversation. We're still waiting to find out if that's Sam Darnold. He's on the bubble because he looks good with the Seahawks. He looked great with the Vikings last year until it mattered most, but he's in that range. Brock Purdy, TBD. TBD. Is that fair to say? I'm not saying he's definitively with Tua where it's good enough to get the contract, not great enough, but he sure does have to prove it still.
Yeah, I told you before the show, I think that Brock Purdy is looking in a time travel machine, and he sees Tua Tagovailoa, and he sees Brock Purdy in 2029.
Whew. And who can doubt that, though? Who can doubt that? Brock Purdy, definitively, he earned the contract that the 49ers gave him. But is he going to make good on it? TBD. Jared Goff kind of was in that. I would say he broke out of that, though. I think he broke out of that tier. He's shown me enough. Now, last year's playoff game was absolutely abysmal. When Dan Campbell talked about after the Chiefs game how it's been a while since he's had a team kneel it out 3 times and you've been down 2 scores and you had nothing that you can do, I was like, buddy, that's how last season ended. I don't remember if it was nils or not, but it wasn't close. And it was because Goff threw how many? 4 interceptions? Him and Justin Herbert absolutely lost the game for the team's last playoff. That's the tier I feel like that Tua is in, and it's the worst tier to be in because once the quarterback gets paid, the team is now invested in him. The team now has to build around him, and you have to build around the deficiencies while he's not uplifting you from the deficiencies of the rest of the team. It is an absolute hellhole to be in, and I have one more. I'm nervous about this one. I don't know if it's quite clear yet. I'm looking for my – it's Trevor Lawrence. It's Trevor Lawrence right there too.
Hey, man, they're having a pretty good season so far.
Is Trevor Lawrence right there too? Because if you're that coach dependent, if it takes this many years and you're that coach dependent, and you're saying he had a pretty good season, what's been the one glaring issue with the Jaguars this year? It's been the passing game, which has been getting better and better under a new system, but it still hasn't been perfect. There's some people that are out on Trevor Lawrence. Even when he won the game against the Chiefs, he did so looking like Goofy, falling all over himself until he finally walked in the end zone thanks to Chris Jones walking it out as well. I'm not saying that he is with Tua. I'm just saying that he's one of those guys on the bubble as well. I still need to see it. That's the issue with the Dolphins right now, and that's the issue with Tua, and I do believe that that's going to cost Mike McDaniel his job. I don't know when, but soon.